Are you a humble person? If you think about at the end of each day, have you been humble towards other people or just as a characteristic of yourself in general? Are you kind towards other people? Do you instill fear in other people? Do you let your ego get in the way? Well, I want to talk about that today because I think it's kind of a big issue that people have nowadays, especially with social media. And I even have this kind of issue of not being humble and letting my ego get in the way. And it lost a lot of friends and it made me a very bad person. And it's a very bad characteristic or trait to have of just not being a humble person. So let's talk about it. So, humility, the opposite of humility is basically having a very big ego or being narcissistic in some sort of way. You're basically like very repulsive in that sense by thinking it's only about you. You're better than everyone else, and there's nothing other like anyone else can say or do about it, and you always think that way, and that is just how your mindset is. But being humble or humility is kind of the opposite, right? It's not really thinking less of yourself. You still are a good person in some sense. You have accomplishments. You are proud of yourself. You do all of these things that make you a good person, let's say. So it's not thinking less about yourself, it's thinking about yourself less. So instead of, always being about yourself, you caring for other people, you have respect for other people, and you are kind of on the same wavelength or level as them. And a good example of this is like the types of leadership that we have. Um, so there's various types of leadership, but a good example of a humble leader is somebody who is a servant leader. That is somebody who does not think that they are above anyone else when leading other people. They serve with them. They do every single task as if they were one of the other directors or people that they were in their shoes doing that same job and they're doing it with them. And I will often find that a lot of the people that I meet from Ivy League schools kind of show this characteristic or trait of being humble. Not to say that, other people from other schools don't, but this is how I found out when I met these sort of people that I had a really big ego and I was being really narcissistic sometimes. And these people really helped me out and kind of showed me like what it's like to be humble, sort of thing. So shout out to all those people that I met over the past couple of years. It's definitely changed me. But being humble is not really that popular nowadays. We have social media. So social media, we are infatuated by all of these sort of likes and everything like here. And social media really incentivizes, flexing. I think this is why I had Toji over here and like main character energy, right? We kind of think about ourselves as like the main character in our lives, which we are to some extent. There's other people around us as well that are side characters that are probably just as important, right? That support us along our journey. But in any case, we really incentivize people flexing, having main character energy, doing all these accomplishments. And I've talked about this before, but I think this directly kind of contributes to just one, FOMO, and two, um, what was I gonna say? I'll get back to it. I'll think about it. But in any case, like there's a difference between resourceful and having an ego, right? If you're somebody who is resourceful, you are giving out information without thinking about what sort of like information or possible benefits you can get about it. You're just being resourceful and you're helping people out. Having an ego is kind of like the opposite in the sense that you are one expecting something as a result from it, and two, you're thinking that nobody can do it better than you, and this is how things are supposed to be. They're set in stone, that sort of thing, right? And yeah, so generally on social media, it's kind of liked more so that oh, this guy's a course seller. He's so successful. He makes all of this money. He has all this material sort of stuff. He lives in a high rise in Miami for whatever reason, and that's kind of like it's sort of frowned upon by people who are somewhat logical. But in this sense, like a lot of people look up to entrepreneurs, and people who have a lot of material stuff because that is kind of like how Gen Z has like popularized and seen how these sort of things manifest into our lives, and that's what it means to be successful. But I guess like at the same time, like yeah, it's just generally not cool to be humble now. But I think it's quite the opposite. When you get older, you start to realize that maybe it's kind of necessary. And Kendrick Lamar, like, he actually made a whole album years ago called Humble, or I think it was a song. I'm not sure if it was an album. I've listened to this before, long time ago when I was in my teenage years and in high school. So yeah, that sort of thing is kind of really relevant. So I think a good example of like these sort of clout, ego, narcissism chasers is early days when Logan Paul was uploading onto YouTube and he had some very controversial things. If you know where this thumbnail is from, then you know. If you don't, go look it up. I'm not going to talk about it. But in any case, he was basically one of the clout chasers, basically somebody who goes and attracts attention and has this like really big ego sort of thing. He's always looking out for trouble and he puts himself before everyone else. He always thinks highly of himself and doesn't really think about the consequences of his actions and basically puts himself forward in any situation that he can. And this kind of like ego and narcissism that he has is largely hated, especially after this sort of incident that happened and all some other scams and stuff like that that he's done, including investing. And so, yeah, in general, I would like to say that humility is countercultural in this sense, because although Logan Paul did get a lot of hate for the things that he did, it did make him popular at the end of the day, right? And so, you know, that benefits him largely. He gets the attention that he wants, and overall, he kind of wins in that sense, right? He's popular, he has all these opportunities, but I guess like how you see this person as a character, whether it's hate, whether it's I don't know, you like him for whatever reason it may be, he still gets the attention, and that's kind of what mattered, and that's kind of like what made him successful, right? But the point is that he's not really a humble person at the end of the day, and that is kind of repulsive, right? He's kind of like thinking he's above everyone else, has no consideration for others, sort of thing. And yeah. So the last thing I really want to touch on is being respectful, like being humble and being respectful to other people. Like you're on the same level as anyone else. People who are truly humble don't need to feel the external validation to feel worthy. You're already self-accomplished. You already know the things that you did and you want to help other people and you respect other people and you don't think, any less of them as yourself. And so there's this quote from this is a book from Taoism, I believe. I read it really, really long time ago, and I kind of remember like a humble quote from there. And it basically says, "When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you." And I think that's very true, right? Some of the top people within tech, some of the big leaders and stuff like that, like they're pretty humble in the sense that um, although they have competitors and stuff, we're all human at the end of the days. There's no need to compare or really compete in that sense because everyone needs to respect everyone. If we're all humble, everything's all good. And yeah, if you're truly humble as well, like you will respect others and you will celebrate others. Like if I say, "Oh, cool, I got a job," and you don't have a job, you're not just like, "Man, I hate this guy. Like, who the hell is he? I've known him for 4 years, and he goes and gets a job, and I don't have a job." That is like complete opposite of like what a humble person would do, right? Like what would you want to be is like, "Oh my God, congrats! Like, where's it at? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are your plans?" Like you shouldn't really be thinking about yourself in this case. You should be thinking about the other person. And that's kind of like the mindset shift that I want you to like, I guess, gather from this video. So yeah, I guess these are like kind of like principles and how things like gather from being humble that I've noticed either like in general humility from social media, how we perceive it, how it has developed over time, and like I guess Logan Paul's a pretty good example of like not a humble person, and why you should respect others and like be on their same level.